Protestant power that was resisting them, along with Holland. So, it was that. And it was also, you had to rub out a bad example, right?
Yeah. Is the new Pope Jesuit?
Not apparently. He's part of what's called the Augustinians. And they were a missionary society that operated all over South America and all over the world, really. And whenever you find missionaries, you see mass murder. Just, follow the history of it and you'll see it.
If Jesuits have been banned from being popes for hundreds of years, is the timeline of the last pope being manipulated?
That's a good question. I don't know. They keep saying this is the last pope. No, this is the last pope. I don't know. That could just be distraction that was put out there. But definitely it's a rule within the Jesuits that, they can never become pope, which led people to question whether, in fact, Bergoglio was, the pope at all. And so, it's open to speculation.
So Leo the 14th, why did he pick that name?
I think, it's funny. The Vatican over the centuries has learned to send in subtle little clues all the time, as if to tease people, to say, look, hey, look what we're getting away with. That's certainly the mentality of fairly high up church people I've interviewed. And Leo, as I said, was kind of a bulwark against the Reformation. He was extreme conservative, first one to be accused of raping children. There were stories at the time circulating that Leo the 10th would invite children into his private quarters in the Vatican, then they would never be seen again. That's the first time in history that it had ever been referred to. And again, I think it could be just a little reference to the present guy. Why would he pick the name Leo? It's speculative right at this point, but we'll have more information once we get digging more into his personal background. Because don't forget, people like this, there's false biographies put out all the time to shield who they really were and everything. The only way we get the real story is by people in the church or people he's worked with. And that's why this connection he has with this William Auth and the child trafficking and the activities of the church involving,
transportation.
Okay. Why it's so crucial to keep pushing in that area of investigating, because where there's smoke, there's fire. And this is a global network. And it's one of the more lucrative networks in the world. So we'll see.
So Tony saying, if we are all equal in the sight of God, why is there so much hierarchy in the church?
Because they don't reflect the natural order, natural law, or God. They reflect like I say in my book, it's a cult of emperor worship. It has nothing to do with Christ. They've monopolized the rhetoric and the appearance of Christianity. It's not a Christian religion. It's based on emperor worship from the late Roman Empire. And in the Roman system, there's no such thing as equality. It was based on hierarchies. You didn't have an identity. There's no name in Latin for the word I. You were an extension of something or someone else. People refer to, the capitalized letters in your ID. That came from the Roman, it refers to a piece of property or a slave. Capitis diminutia maxima. It means you are an object that we can manipulate. So the Roman Church has it's been the main force in history against equality. John Adams, the second American president, said, if the Roman Catholic Church ever achieves power in America, the republic is over, because liberty and popery are opposed. Two totally different notions, and that's why the Chinese and them get along so well, because they have the same notion of emperor worship. One guy in charge, the corporatist system, the whole global system is based on that now, of rule by one man and or one authority. And so, it's like asking, why doesn't a lion become a vegetarian, right?
Okay. What does his election indicate about the future of the papacy?
I think it indicates more that the move towards China is increasing quickly. I mentioned in the last interview how in China, it's the only country in the world where the government and the Catholic Church work together to appoint bishops and cardinals to determine what the public actions and statements of the church, it's like fused. And I think the same thing could very easily happen in America now. I think you're seeing a convergence happening all over the planet where big money, the state and the church merge into one body. Now, traditionally, that's how genocide operates, that unholy triangle, big money, church, and state. Now it's globalized. And so I think it wouldn't surprise me, just like I'll be surprised if there's ever another US election. But it wouldn't surprise me if you have the same development in America where the American Pope here announces, well, we've come to an agreement with the Trump administration as to how the church should be operating. Trump himself has said he'd like to see that. Bergoglio, Pope Francis, was continually referring to the need for a one world government and pushing big pharma stuff and everything. So I think that's the convergence. We're seeing this convergence of all the power into one big super corporation. And the Vatican is at the head of that because they're the main financial power in the world, right?
This is interesting. So in China, the majority of the population either identifies as having no religion or follows Chinese folk religions. Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam have significant followings, although to a lesser extent. Christianity, including both Protestant and Catholic denominations, is followed by around 5 to 7% of the population. When the population is that big, that's still a hell of a lot of people, isn't it, Kevin?
That's what I'm talking about. It's proof. If there were more Catholics in China, it would make sense. But if they're only 5% of the population or less, how come the Chinese government is the only country in the world to work with the Vatican? Well, because it's not about religion. The religion, just politics and religion are for the masses. It's to keep people deluded that, there's such a thing as honesty in government, justice, rule of law. It's about money. It's about power of a few over the many. And the best system to achieve that is a corporatocracy, the hierarchy that we've been talking about. The Vatican and the Maoist system of, you could call it state capitalism, or the merger of money and power into one state system, they perfected it. They're bosom buddies. They see the world in the same way. So it's a prototype. It's like what China is doing with the Vatican is like a forerunner to the way the whole world's going to be. And that's why it's important to follow this stuff, because it's like the canary in the mine shaft. What you see going on now with this stuff is going to be the future of the world unless we stop it with an alternative. And that's what we're trying to create on the ground now.